In 2003, Rockstar released one of their most controversial games. The game, simply titled Manhunt, is about a death row inmate who is forced to participate in a series of snuff films by killing criminal gang members sent to hunt him on camera. Manhunt was praised by game critics for its ability to put the player in a frightening psychological situation and for pushing the boundaries of what a game can show. While it didn't become popular like its GTA counterpart, Manhunt was popular among hardcore fans, and over the years, it has been considered a cult classic. However, Manhunt isn't a normal game. You see, this game is disturbingly violent and gory. Thursday, October 1, a Reddit user in r/gaming made a post titled, "What was the most controversial game you've ever played?" Scrolling through the feed, many users mentioned the game Manhunt. A quick search on Google led us to a site from Rockstar for the game itself. Clicking through the link, we are shown the cover art of the game and the description that tells us what it's about. The description read, "They just killed Cash. Now they want to kill him again. America is full of rundown, broken Rust Belt town where nobody cares and anything goes. In Carson City, nothing matters anymore and all that's left are cheap thrills. The ultimate rush is the power to grant life and take it away for sport. This time, James Earl Cash, you are the sport. They gave you your life back. Now, they are going to hunt you down. You awake to the sound of your own panic breath. You must run, hide, and fight to survive. If you can stay alive long enough, you may find out who did this to you. This is a brutal blood sport." The game begins with a news reporter announcing the death sentence of James Earl Cash. Footage of him being executed is shown. However, not long after that, Cash wakes up with a voice on the speaker telling him that he's been given a second chance, not by the public, but through this person. The person then instructs him to pick up the earpiece provided and listen to his instruction because only he can help James get out of this place. After he exits the building, the person informs him that the area is filled with gang members who has been given instruction to kill him on sight. The person tells Cash that he'll help as much as he can, but other than that, he's on his own. He then ends his briefing and we get to control Cash. Okay, now before we proceed, there are several things I need to explain. I think it's best if I mention the name of the person who's giving command first. This will be revealed as you play through the game, but for the sake of this video, we'll do it early. This person is Lionel Starkweather, also known as the director. If you hear me saying the director at some point in this video or Starkweather, just know that that is the same person. Second, the game is all about stealth. Combat is optional and you're given firearms in the later levels, but for the most part, it's better to focus on stealth as the game rewards you for executing enemies brutally. Oh, and there's a stamina bar you can use for running, but the game doesn't recommend that since it'll give your location away. Again, the game encourages you to be as stealthy as possible. Walking a bit further down the alley, we're given our first weapon, a plastic bag. Now, each weapon you get is color-coded. Green ones are one-time use and will be discarded after an execution, while blue and red color ones are light and heavy weapons with an infinite amount of usage. Walking a bit further, the camera shifts to show a hunter blocking the stairs. A command prompt appears teaching us how to execute the victim. This is the reason why Manhunt was considered a controversial game. It teaches the player how to execute the victim in the most brutal way possible. By sneaking up behind the enemy, Cash would lock in on them. The longer he locks in on the enemy, the more brutal the execution was. White color is considered a tame execution, yellow is in the between, and red color are the most violent kill of them all. After Cash kills the hunter, the director talks to him and tells him that he set the guy there to see if Cash had what it takes to be the leading actor. Safe to say, he passed with flying color. The director sends out more hunters to test his ability, which he easily kills. Eventually, he arrives at a parking space. Here, the director informs him that more hunters are patrolling the area, but this time, he adds another piece of information. Apparently, these hunters are part of a gang. The one facing James right now are members of a gang called the Hoods. After successfully killing all of the hunters, Cash goes through several more areas before he eventually finds the exit. The scene then shifts to 4 armed guards coming out of a black truck. These people are Cerberus, Starkweather's personal guard, and their job is to protect Starkweather and transport James from places to places. Anyway, after showing us the armed guards, the scene shifts to Cash running away from the place. He expects to find freedom, but what awaits him are 5 armed guards who beat the crap out of him. As his consciousness faded, Subaru's member drags him into the truck and the scene shifts again, showing us another gang, happily drinking almost as if they're having a party. Their fun was interrupted when a tall, muscular man in an army outfit with a red beret appears. He picks up one of the Skin's gang member and crushes his eyes before snapping his neck. This person is Ramirez, and his job is to make sure Cash gets killed by the people Starkweather sets him up with. The scene shifts one last time to Cash being thrown out of the truck. He slowly gets up, and as soon as he does, the director calls him, telling him that he's not done with him yet and asking him to continue the filming. Reluctantly, Cash does what he's told. Eventually, the director grows tired of the Skins gang because not only they are racist, bigoted, and a bunch of white supremacists, but they also go off script and often messed up their job. This doesn't sit well with Starkweather, so he instructs James to murder them all in the most brutal way possible. After eliminating all of the Skins gang, Cash is sure this time he'll be able to leave the place. Except, he can't. As soon as he leaves the area, Cerberus surrounds him and knocks him unconscious. He's then loaded into the truck and the scene changed to two men giving food to something. The camera then changes angle and we get to see a horrifying scene of what seems to be a man wearing a pig head and making pig noises while eating raw meat. The scene then changes to Cash being thrown into a new area. It cuts to Ramirez talking to a new group of hunters wearing military uniforms. These hunters are called War Dogs and they are Ramirez's personal gang. He issued a command telling them to hunt down Cash and kill him, but that proves harder than it looks as Cash easily kills all of them. One by one, the War Dogs died. Sensing that Cash might reach the end goal sooner than he anticipated, Starkweather decides to put up an obstacle. He takes Cash's family member and instructs him to save them all. Pretty simple, right? Well, no. You see, if any of the hunters sees him get close to his family, they'll immediately execute them. This certainly put pressure on him, but against all odds, he managed to save all three of them. After he saved his family members, Cash approached the exit and a scene plays out where he let himself be captured by members of Cerberus. At this point, he knows it's useless to run. The scene then cuts to Ramirez giving order to a new gang. These new gang members are called the Innocents, but unlike what their name suggests, these people are far from innocent. They're a bunch of satanists and extremists who will stop at nothing to kill the target. The scene then changes to Cash arriving in an abandoned mall. This time, things take a different turn. For some reason, Starkweather decides to give Cash some rest and organize a fun game of scavenger hunt. He then tells him that he prepared a special video for him, but in order to watch it, he needs to find the tape and the camera. He ends the briefing by warning James about the enemies being heavily armed. Thankfully, he leaves him a gun just to make things easier. Now, this level is where, in my opinion, stealth becomes secondary. For some reason, I couldn't get the first two guys to come towards me and I waited in the shadows for quite a while before eventually having to leave and face them head on. I thought it was a bug because this game is notorious for being buggy, but later when I watched a video on this level, everyone had to fight them head on. It's a relief to know that this is actually what you need to do in the game. I thought the game was bugged for me. Anyway, after finding the tape and the camera, Starkweather instructs Cash to go to the bar on the first floor to watch the video, and what he sees fills him with anger. In that tape are his family tied to a pole, the same one he saved earlier. Looks like Starkweather never intended to let them go. An innocent gang member comes close to them and brutally decapitates them. Cash is sick to his stomach, but even more so, he's angry. He picks up the TV and throws it away. The scene then changes to Starkweather introducing a homeless person to Cash and telling him to protect that person like his family. Pretty ironic considering he just killed Cash's family, but he had no choice but to comply. The only silver lining here is that Starkweather promised freedom once he's out of this place. After a painstaking escort mission where he needs to keep the homeless person safe from harm and then fight his way out by killing every innocent gang member, Cash finally makes it out, only to be taken by Cerberus once again. The promise was nothing but a lie. This time, Starkweather brings him to a mental asylum, a place that is not only dangerous but where the Smiley's gang reside. The Smileys are made up of escaped inmates from Darkwood Penitentiary and are highly unstable and mentally ill. Now here, Starkweather instructs Cash to kill the hunter patrolling the tower walkway and bring his body to the guard room. Doing that is not easy as security is much tighter than before and more hunters patrolling the place. But with patience, Cash is able to kill the leader. After doing what he's told, Starkweather congratulates him and tells him to drop his weapon before proceeding to the next area. A weird request considering he wasn't told to do that previously. Nonetheless, Cash does as he's told and drops down into the hole and into a prison-like area. Here, he's given the freedom to take as much time as he wants in killing the hunters. After all, the goal for this area is to entertain the people by showing them a merciless kill. Starkweather begins by telling Cash to perform a violent and gruesome kill. After fulfilling that, he's instructed to go to the shower block for a surprise. However, something that Cash didn't notice here was that Starkweather sounds cold, as if he lost interest in everything. Well, we'll soon learn why when Cash arrives there. Arriving at the shower block, a man dressed in a rabbit suit appears and runs away. Starkweather instructs him to chase after him for a surprise, but that's not an easy task because the Smiley's gang kept stopping him. Eventually, he managed to catch up with the rabbit suit man. However, instead of getting a reward, Starkweather revealed that this is the end of their partnership. That explains why he sounded uninterested. Starkweather has gotten everything he wanted out of Cash, and to make sure no one knows what happened here, he decided to kill him. The Smiley surrounds him and an all-out shooting commences. But that's not all. Outside, Cerberus stormed the place to hunt and kill him. It seems like this will be the end for James Earl Cash. But against all odds, he survives the ambush. He even killed the rabbit suit person. Starkweather is surprised that Cash survived that. Panic sweeps in and he immediately instructs Ramirez to capture Cash and kill him. Failure isn't an option. Ramirez understood the assignment and waits for Cash at the exit door. As soon as Cash exits, a scene plays out where Ramirez captures him and slams him against the wall. He then proceeds to beat him up and remove all of his weapon. He then calls out the rest of the war dogs and commences a deadly game of hide and seek. Cash knew that if he ever had any chance of survival, he needs to eliminate Ramirez. Using the shadows as his cover, he slowly ascends towards his hiding place while taking out the war dogs patrolling the area. However, when he got there, Ramirez was nowhere to be found. He was one step ahead and runs away. A chase scene commences where Cash was given a time limit before Ramirez calls in backup. Eventually, he managed to catch with Ramirez and kills him before backup arrives. Cash takes the key from him and exits through the gate. As he runs away, a car suddenly comes to a screeching halt, and a woman's voice can be heard telling him to get in the car. Without thinking too much, Cash jumps in and the two speeds away from the place. When Cash is certain they're far enough, he tells the woman to pull over and the man to know who she is. It turns out this woman is none other than the reporter we saw at the start of the game. She saved him because she needs his help getting the document in her apartment. These documents are hard evidence that will convict Starkweather and put him behind bars for good. Hearing this, Cash agrees to help her and the two sets off to the reporter's apartment. However, when they got there, police have surrounded the area. It turns out the reporter has a bounty on her, placed by Starkweather. Cash then continues on foot and here we're given another escort mission. However, this one is a bit different. Unlike the homeless person, the reporter, if left alone for too long, becomes scared and will come looking for Cash. But eventually, both of them manage to reach the apartment. The reporter then shows the box containing the evidence and asks Cash to leave with her, but he declines. Instead, Cash tells her that he's going to deal with Starkweather personally and asks the reporter to leave as she is his backup plan in case something happens to him. Well, something does happen. On his way to confront Starkweather, Cerberus shows up and captures him once again. The scene then shifts to the reporter outside of Starkweather's mansion. She talks about the allegation against him and how he's banned from directing another movie. Before she can finish her report, the scene shifts once again to Cash and Cerberus inside a warehouse. The leader of Cerberus takes out his gun and tells the other to shut down the camera. Once that's taken care of, the leader aims his gun at Cash's head, but just before he pulls the trigger, Pixie's scream echoes throughout the area. His scream is so loud that all the members are forced to leave and investigate it. Needless to say, it doesn't end well as they're slaughtered by Pixie. This gives Cash the opportunity to escape and make his way to Starkweather, but when he reached the mansion, Cash discovered that Cerberus had locked the elevator. Without it, reaching Starkweather would be impossible. Fortunately, it doesn't take long for him to obtain the key. After killing the squad leader, Cash activates the elevator and rides it. But just as the door closes, Cash hears the sound of a chainsaw coming closer. A scene then plays out where Pixie tries to pry open the elevator door with his chainsaw. Fearing that he might get killed there, Cash looks around for an exit and eventually finds one by climbing through the roof of the elevator. When the scene ends, we see Cash inside an old, dilapidated room. The sound of the chainsaw roars and echoes throughout the entire room. Pixie is nearby. Since he lost his weapon while trying to escape, Cash has to rely on any sharp objects scattered in that room as weapons. Using the shadow as his cover, Cash attacks Pixie, stabbing him in the back. After the third attack, Pixie left the room, but Cash wouldn't let him go. He chased Pixie all the way to the top where he tragically falls down to his death. So after killing Pixie, Cash picks up the chainsaw and storms into Starkweather's office. He's visibly surprised and shaken by this. In his last-ditch effort, Starkweather tries to bargain with Cash but he's ignored. Cash takes the chainsaw and shoves it into Starkweather and then brutally dismembering his body. The game then ends with the reporter reporting the death of Starkweather. She mentioned the gruesome way he died but doesn't mention the assailant. It's also revealed here that the police chief was an accomplice. He denied that claim and will be pleading not guilty. Cash is nowhere to be seen and the game ends with the reporter finishing her report on this horrible case. Manhunt is by far one of the most violent games of the 2000s, and I don't blame parents for being worried and countries for banning this game altogether, especially after what happened in 2004. On July 28, 2004, the game was linked to the murder of 14-year-old Stefan Pakira by 17-year-old Warren LeBlanc in England. Initial media report claimed that police had found a copy of the game in LeBlanc's bedroom. That game is none other than Manhunt. This sparked an outrage and people demand Rockstar to ban the game. But Rockstar denied the request, stating that the game was intended for adults and was never meant to be played by kids. Now looking at these articles from back then, you can't help but seeing people labeling this game as a murder simulator. But Manhunt is much more than that. Sure, on the surface it might look like a murder simulator, but if you actually play the game, you know that that's not all it offers. You see, Manhunt emphasized a lot on stealth, and when you look at it closer, you can see just how advanced it is for its time. I mean, how many games allow you to lure your enemy by tapping on the wall or throwing an object to distract enemy just so you can kill them? Not many. The stealth mechanics are much more than just the usual hide in the dark area and take them out routine. Of course, this game is not without its flaw. One of my biggest gripes with this game is the aiming system. I don't get why you need to be at a certain distance just so the bullet can hit the person. If you're far away, then you're not gonna hit anything, even though you perfectly align the dot to the enemy's head. Another one is the bugs. For some reason, this game punishes you for being careful and stealthy. No joke, the game intentionally gave you game-breaking bug. The list goes on, just goes to show how broken this game is. But that's the game. In terms of gameplay, Manhunt is surprisingly good. Stuff like the sound design, it's really good. The ambiance, the music played, every moment whether it's being scared, exposed, etc. The music is spot on. It's also realistic to the point where the sound made by the enemies when you execute them by using a knife or a machete is unnerving. I've never been so disturbed by a game before, and this one managed to make me squirm. Manhunt is a good horror game. Yes, you heard me. I consider this game a horror game because people are much more terrifying than any ghost or monster, and Manhunt perfectly encapsulates that. Thank you guys so much for watching. A few things about Manhunt. There's another part of this video since I'm planning on making it a two-part series. I'm excited for that video since Manhunt 2 was a game that I never got to finish back then. Look forward to that video. Anyway, I would really love to know what you guys thought on this game. Let me know it down in the comments below. Again, thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed my video, don't forget to subscribe so you get to see more content like this. Like the video so I know you enjoy this stuff, and check out my previous video if you haven't yet, and become a member to support the channel and get more interesting stuff in the future. That's all for me. See you.